Morning, folks. This morning's shave is brought to us by Wildway Shaving, Winter Lodge. The scent profile on this one here is hazelnut, bay rum, tobacco, and honey. This one here, 2 ounce, inside the plastic container here, dark brown in color. Pretty easy to scrape out and put in a bowl. These was whipped up with a Raven Brushworks brush. It's yogurt, not quite as wet as I normally would whip it up as. There's the emblem on the back, on the bottom of the handle. This is a horsehair synthetic knot. Got it whipped up here in the bowl, and it does whip up a little bit on the brown side. So brown and brown goes together, huh? Whipped up pretty nice. And Russell's soaps does, it'll take a little bit of water. So if you're just learning how to lather, this one here might be a good one to start with too, because it allows you enough room for error, I guess you might say. Got the alum block, no rubber band this morning. Got Stirling's Hazel Black Ice that's mentholated. Decided to follow up. I've been wanting a Bay Rum shave anyway, so decided to follow up with Yulay's Bay Rum aftershave. Still got a little bit of the Shaven Sailor beard oil, just a little bit down in there. Matter of fact, the end of it just does reach down in there. May have to switch in and out on containers so I can get the rest of it out of there. Excuse me. Shaver of the day was the one I mentioned yesterday. This is a E2, so what's that, a 1959 version Gillette Fatboy. This is the one that's not the best of shave. It's got that flat spot right there on the end of the knob, so every time you turn it, you got to get past that flat spot. And still shaves just fine. Got it on setting number 9 right now, and I think I'm going to go all 3 passes with that setting again today. And got the Treet Silver Edge trig. Gotten pretty good shaves with this blade before. Comes in a cardboard carton 10-pack. Works well for me, so I thought I'd give it a try and see how it works on setting 9 for 3 passes. Mentioned about lengths on this is the Fatboy. Here's the Gillette Slim, and you can kind of tell it's just a little bit longer than the Fatboy, the Slim is. And compared to the Gillette Super, this is the Slim, and you can tell it's quite a bit longer. Just to give you a comparison in between the 3. Also, I should mention that the trig is it comes double wrapped in a plastic wrap, a paper wrapper like that. I've already had a hot towel to the face this morning. Got a little bit of drainage this morning, so I'll be able to get through it. Got the what's left of the cube here. Should be more like a sliver this morning. Not too sure how small I'm going to be able to go with this before I'm going to get to the point where I'm not going to be able to use it anymore. Figure get down to that part right there, that's probably about as far as I'm going to be able to go. Definitely get my money's worth out of it, that's for sure. The weather's a little, I should say the weathermen, the weather people, are really struggling here in Oklahoma. This morning we were supposed to be waking up to a certain amount of nastiness. Drizzle, freezing rain, snow. Not a whole lot of it, but we were supposed to get some. Then yesterday morning, after I mentioned it, of course, and I checked it. Later on yesterday, oh no, now here locally, no, we're not going to get that. And then later on, oh yeah, okay, now this Sunday we're supposed to get some. And then I think they backed it back off too. So I'll have to check the weather again to see if it's what they're saying now. I have anticipations that they're just trying to prepare us in case it does have some freezing rain. Ice on the roads I think the bigger concern, I don't think 2 inches of snow is nothing to be concerned about. At least it's not for me. I don't know, for some folks it might be around here, but 2 inches is nothing. But it's the ice where I get concerned, because traveling on ice is a whole lot different story. And in other words, that would be the one I would be concerned about. Prefer not to travel on ice. I'll go ahead and get started here. Yeah, but they've been having a high old time. Friday, we talked about it at work, because further to the south, right where I'm at, is the dividing line where they thought that the storm front was going to come through and stop at. And it moved further to the south, so that's the reason why we're not going to get as much or anything at all. And further to the south, there were some people that were our business, sometimes we have to travel, and they were, visiting, working with folks further to the south of us, and they were talking about it in Oklahoma City. I guess somebody said that they were reporting they could get up to 17 inches of snow, which, for me, you just start laughing, because it's rare we get anything remotely close to that. And typically, if it's like that, it's more of a larger scale area than just south of Tulsa, for instance. But anyway, crazy weather, people. Starts to make you wonder. I guess maybe the models were just having a tough time with it, which, there was some indication that that the models were having a tough time predicting what was going on. This is Oklahoma, and it does go along with that saying about the weather. Just give it a moment. If you don't like it, it'll change. We do have those temperature swings where one day you could be freezing, and then the next day, you're up around 70. Have a good 40-degree difference in a very short period of time. It is kind of odd. I-44 runs through here, and how many times I-44 ends up being a dividing line. It does make you wonder at some point in time, when they were putting in roads, what were they thinking? In other words, how did that road become such a dividing line a lot of times? And if it's not that, then it's 412. It is interesting how this weather plays out here, though. Like I said, just be patient. It doesn't take very long. It'll change. It's kind of like, when it comes to tornadoes, it's kind of more or less here and gone. It doesn't last very long most of the time. Tornadoes usually travel, 35, 45 miles an hour. In other words, with the quickness, 15 minutes at the most, usually it's here and gone. Just depending on how big of an area that you're living in. Tulsa metro area covers a little bit of area, so 15, 20 minutes, and it's doesn't pass through the area, and everything's done and over with. There's not much left on my face this morning. There's a little bit of feedback with the trig blade, but my face is going to be awfully smooth today. But this is getting to be that time of the year where, especially closer to the end of the year, where a lot of folks are going to get that kind of weather. A lot of snow and ice. Most of the time around here, it does not stick around very long. Generally, we get any kind of snow, it doesn't stick around very long, because usually the next day or two it's already back up to 40 some odd degrees, so it melts and it goes away. So it's never really that big of an event. It doesn't stick around for days and weeks at a time. Most of the time. It was a few years ago we had one come through that it stuck around for a moment. That was an interesting time. We were last time we got a good ice storm, knocked out power to a lot of the area here, and kids were very young at that point in time. And you can imagine, you know, it's sort of like, you know, a puppy, first time he goes outside and he touches grass or snow or anything like that. Well, the first time that, you know, there's nothing running in the house, absolutely nothing. And you can hear everything going on outside, all the limbs cracking and popping. No TV. We were all sitting in the living room on the couch, talking and listening to the outside. Things just popping and cracking. Didn't have it that quiet. Drove my wife nuts. Not used to having it quiet. She's got usually there's always something going on. There's a TV, there's music, there's something that's always running. A washing machine, there's, you know, or you could hear the refrigerator kick on. There's always something making noise. Kids, when they're not making noises, when you go hunt them down, find out what they're up to. But yeah, it was an interesting time. We were able to travel to a town to the south of us that had power at the time in Muskogee, and we stayed in a hotel there for a little while till they got power back up. But we were very lucky to find that room, because needless to say, though, you know, when you got the bulk of the metro area here out of power, everybody's looking for a place to stay. The real concern, of course, was with the wife and kids. Me, myself, you know, coming out of the Army, I know how to bundle up and stay warm. And the cool thing about it at the house, though, at least I thought so, was that I have a natural gas. And at that point in time, so in other words, the hot water tank was natural gas. Still worked just fine. Had hot water. Stove ran on natural gas. Still had natural gas. Could cook. So in other words, we could, you know, generate a little bit of heat. Not the best in the world, but you can still cook and make the best of a tough time. Now, hopefully this is not an indication of how Christmas is going to be for some folks, where they're going to be without power. It's not, typically we don't have tornadoes in November like we did. Usually that happens earlier on. But this kind of weather, it's going to happen from time to time. It's just like the ice storm, the snowstorm, where we got, oh, what was it? I think at one point in time it was 6 inches, and we still kept on getting more snow piled on top of that, and it was fun getting around, talking about every day that you go out there and shovel out your spot in the driveway, and then you go back out there the very next day and repeat the same thing over again. And did that for, oh gosh, I wanted to say more than a week. Every evening I would get back to the house and go to work. And at that point they decided not to have most of us show up at work. There really just wasn't much of a point, because everybody's had such a tough time getting to work, and not a whole lot was going on anyway. But shoveling out your parking spot every night, because it would snow every day for a while. Got a lot of exercise back then, that's for sure. Because at that point in time, I had a snow shovel, and with a snow shovel, you know, it's a little bit bigger, and I decided I was going to opt for the flat nose shovel, something a little bit smaller. Took longer, but I wasn't putting near as much strain on myself, and I was taking my time. In other words, I was not trying to get in the hospital or anything quite like that. I did have a slip and fall. At that point in time, I would put my cell phone, you know, in the case, and I would have it, you know, on my hip. And of course, that's the side that I fell on. And At the time the cell phone was okay, but it did later on that screen started to have issues because it was a touch screen. And like I say, at the time it was doing okay, then later on the touch screen decided to quit working. But I was quite sure the reason why it had such a short life was due to the fact that I had a slip and fall on it. Just one of those things that happens. Now they got some pretty good stuff that you put on the bottom of your shoes that'll help you with, it's kind of funny, it'll help you outside on the snow and ice and whatnot, but don't walk in on like a tile floor or something like that, because it's just like walking on ice with those on the bottom of your shoes. It's funny. Anyway, got some witch hazel here. You know, it would be nice to have a white Christmas. Around here it just doesn't happen very often. I only had a little bit of stinging this morning, right about there. Outside of that, is a pretty good shave. I do enjoy shaving with it from time to time, but I still have that strong tendency just to, most of these I just these adjustable shavers, I typically just run it right on up to the highest setting, and that's what I shave with. On occasion I might put it down below. I might run this paces from time to time, but usually put it on a setting and I just shave with it. No nicks, cuts, weepers, no irritation. It was a pretty good shave. This blade here, you don't see very many shave the days with it, and I understand, sometimes these blades, regardless, who makes them, not always for everybody. So you might want to try these. I'll put a couple of links down below. There's two places that I have a tendency to, in case you might say, hunt down some blades that I haven't used. And one of them is tryblade.com, and the other one, I think it's the Razor Blades Club. I'll put a link down below to both of them because, they do have a slightly different offering when it comes to the blades. And it'd be easier to try a pack before you buy a 100-pack of them. And shipping will be different on both of these websites depending on how much you order, so that'll be another deciding factor in how much you might want to buy or try out. Create your own sample pack, if you will. Now when it comes to bay rum, the best I could tell, did this yesterday just to check my thinking, what I remember of this. I think I'm going to put a little bit more on. I do not smell clove in this bay rum, so if clove is an issue for you and if you have a reaction to it, this might be one to check out. If you add menthol to Monica's aftershaves, it'll run you $1 more, which is inexpensive in my opinion. This definitely bay rum, but I just don't think it has the cloves to it. So if you're not a clove fan, this one here might be one that you might enjoy. It's not quite like, my opinion, it doesn't, the scent is not quite like Colonel Conk's bay rum. There is a difference between the two, and definitely not like Black Bay. There's a big difference in between Colonel Conk's Yulay's bay rum. Both of those are way different than what Black Bay from Razor Rock. That one there is a very unique, in my opinion, bay rum. That's what I have in the way of bay rum. One of these days I'll venture off and get some Phoenix Artisan Accoutrements bay rums and start, getting further and further out. In other words, right now my field is very narrow. My wife was very concerned when I first started wet shaving. I was looking at a bunch of bay rums, including Phoenix Artisan Accoutrements, and I've got one that's a lavender bay. That's it just has a bay rum scent to it with the lavender, which I like. One of these days I'll get to. As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to work it in January, right towards the front. Also, on a side note, if for those that have that shave with a shavette or a straight razor, still struggling. For instance, for me, in my mind, I feel like right hand, this side of the face, with the with the grain against the grain, which is normally my two passes. And then left hand over here for this side, doing the same thing. I feel like that is going to work best for me, as opposed to right hand side of the face, left hand side of the face. I just feel like switching them up, excuse me, is going to work better. Anyway, I've been looking into that too. Hope everybody's doing well. Travel safe. Just be safe out there. Smooth shaves to you.